This is The Wow Effect, the podcast for women entrepreneurs who are scaling big. I'm Mallory Steele, and every episode expect honest conversations, actionable insights, and stories that make you say, wow. Hey everyone, it's Mallory, and I'm welcoming you back to The Wow Effect podcast. Today, I'm talking with Janelle Bernier, a multi-passionate entrepreneur, background in nursing, mindfulness mentor who helps high-achieving women manage anxiety and find calm while building their dreams. Janelle shares how her journey from nursing to business ownership to launching her mindfulness program taught her the importance of slowing down, setting boundaries, and believing in herself. If you've ever chased success but still felt restless, this episode is a reminder that peace and purpose matter just as much as progress. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Wow Effect podcast. Janelle, I'm so excited to have you on here and have this conversation. You are a real go-getter, and I always love our conversations. So I'm excited that we get to record this one and other people get to kind of eavesdrop on the things we talk about. So thanks for joining me on this.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this. Love it.
I do want to get into your entrepreneurial story, but let's stay timely and relevant because you just shared that you just finished a full day of recording. And we were just talking about filtering, how we filter ourselves and how we talk about how we emphasize. So how do you manage going from day to day to day of doing all of the different things? Where do you want to take that?
Wow. Yeah. Like kind of wearing the different hats that I wear.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I used to do was start my day at a normal time, and exercise and meditation, prayer is super important to me. So my morning routine is critical, but it was moving into the important part of my morning, and I was working late, and I was juggling everything in between. And you're going to love this, Mallory, because I did just tell Brienne yesterday, I'm like, I actually owe this to Mallory. I have to admit it to her because I've resisted for years being part of the 5 a.m. club. Resisted. I'm like, nope, I'm a night person. I'm doing this. I can't focus in the morning. And I was on one of the masterminds with Lindsay, and we started talking about time blocking and the 90-minute chunks. And I thought, I have to do something. Like, I am juggling so much, and so I have to change. And I always go back to, in order for it to be beneficial or in order for it to impact me, I know I have to get uncomfortable. So I'm like, I'm just doing it. The first 2 mornings was a little tough. Now I'm waking up without my alarm at 10 to 5. Insane. Never. I almost didn't know there was 2 5 o'clocks in the 24-hour. Okay.
Right.
And that has been a game changer completely. So that would be my answer now to how I'm healthy, in a healthy way, managing and juggling all these projects.
I'm so happy you went there. And when you travel all the time and you're constantly in a different time zone, it kind of throws that whole idea of time out the window, because you're like, well, what time is it in which country? Like, okay, well, it's 7 a.m. for this meeting, but that's actually 4 a.m. where I am now, or now it's 6 p.m. wherever I am now. So how do you, like, then we get down the road of balancing living in the current time zone that you're in, plus the time zone that you have commitments in. And so that's why you went with the 5 a.m. club. And I think it's as long as you give yourself enough time in the morning before you hand it over to somebody else, then you get to win, because all those stresses are already dealt with. Like, whatever you had to accomplish in that day, you already did it. So it really doesn't matter whatever else gets thrown at you. Would you?
Yeah. And I was almost feeling like, so I have that window, getting kids ready on the bus for school and that kind of thing. And I wanted to be more present. And it's just, instead of even fighting my own personality, I have to accomplish something before I can do that, or I'm not present. And when I get that first 90-minute block from 6 to 7:30, and I've accomplished sitting in the dark in my office with a candle lit, I love it. After I've already taken the time to journal, pray, meditate, do all that, my bed is made, and now it's 7:30, and I'm waking my kids up with a smile on my face saying, come on, breakfast is ready. And Yeah. And then I'm off to the gym at 8:30. So it's a routine. Like it works. And you're right. It gives you that extra time. So now for my evenings to sometimes be my own is a big shift, because that was part of my workday, which was crazy. I just needed to shift it.
Yeah, so good. So how did you jump into entrepreneurship? What made you want to be this person you are today?
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you honestly, and this is funny, and it won't be a long story, but I think I decided when I was 7, when I was obsessed with having lemonade stands. And I knew that I had the control to pull a couple nickels and dimes here. And then I started going around to the neighbors and asking them if they wanted anything from the corner store. And they would they'd say, yeah, here's, I want some bread. Here's $2 and keep the change. So, I had a basket full of little things. And I was like, okay, I like this. And then I followed the path. I started working really young and was just.
No, sorry. I want you to keep going with that, but who encouraged you to have a lemonade stand? Was that something you came up with on your own, or did somebody in your world say, here, you need to do this?
That's a good question. I think I came up with it on my own, but the thing is that my mom was always just my biggest cheerleader. So essentially she was making the lemonade and encouraging and setting the table and the chair out for me, and go make a sign. And so, and she always used to tell me, you can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be an astronaut, if you want to be a carpenter, if you want to be a saleswoman, it's your choice. So that was instilled from an early age, for sure.
Amazing. Yeah. That's huge to be able to have somebody cheerleading for you at such a young age.
Absolutely. Always. Yeah. So then I continued on the path, and I had jobs through school and that kind of thing. And then became a registered nurse because I love science. So it was kind of like separated from business, but I was like, how can I knew it was just going to be a stepping stone for me. And then I went into pharmaceuticals, which was a perfect blend for me of science and business. Spent a lot of years in there, knowing that one day, I didn't know when, but one day I would, be my own boss essentially, and not be living somebody else's dream was what really got me. I'm living out some CEO's dream or some, and I wanted to do that, and I believed I deserved that for myself. So after, when you're raising kids and doing all that, the dream seems a little further away, but it became closer the more I believed that it was really just ultimately a choice, and I had to make a plan. And I didn't know how long. That was a big one for me when somebody said, just make the plan and decide, and forget about when it's going to happen. That's going to come later. And that was a big one for me, because I kind of like surrendered to that idea that, okay, I'm not necessarily in charge of the timeline, but if I do all the legwork, everything else is going to fall into place. And sure enough, things started to happen, and I ended up in partnership with the Adult Recreational Sports League that I own and run. And I did that while I was still in corporate, and overlapped for a few years, for probably, I'm thinking now it was probably a good 5 years or so. And then, or maybe 4. Yeah, about 4 years. And then and then I was able to kind of set myself up financially and take the plunge.
Did you enjoy each of those different things that you dabbled in? I want to say dabble. I mean, you did more than dabble, but every time you made a move, did it feel like it was the right move at that right time? Like, I'm going to enjoy this thing.
Career-wise. That's a really good question. So I liked being a nurse because I liked the science and all that sort of thing. But I was a little too empathetic. So I kind of got out of that quickly, like not quickly, but I was 3-4 years probably in that. And then I could still enjoy, the science and that sort of thing in pharmaceuticals. In pharmaceuticals, I shifted. So I was in sales, or I dabbled, like you say, in training or marketing or patient support things, but definitely always got bored really quick. So, and that's when I would start to daydream. Like, I think I could keep my attention span maybe a year.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, now what? Now what? So there would be a lot of, I did a lot of daydreaming and a lot of, I was kind of multitasking, raising kids. So that was the thing. But yeah, I think I believe now more than ever, it is, it sounds cliche, but it is about the journey, because the second I get to where I'm going, I'm like, okay, and next.
Yeah. And I love when things come full circle, like looking back, all of those different skill sets that evolved along on your journey that are all completely relevant to whatever it is that you're doing now or next. I mean, some things you probably recognize now that you're like, thank God I had that experience. It feeds into what I'm doing now. And there's probably still some things that you're not sure where it's going to pop up, but it'll be maybe in a year or two from now that you're like, oh, thank God I went through that experience too. Now it makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And it really does, kind of everything I've done, from being a nurse to going into business and even into pharmaceuticals. Trade relations was something I worked in. A lot of managed distribution, like specialty drug sales. And then I always, had this other side of me that was very much into meditation and very granola, as they say. And so then once I left corporate, I went and took my MBSR facilitator. So became a certified mindfulness instructor. So everything, people think, oh, it's so, not kind of, there's such different parts, but to me, it's a perfect balance. And exactly. So it puts me to where I am today, launching this modern day mindfulness program for women like me, for women that, I had a lot of high functioning anxiety and that sort of thing. And it was very driven, but I needed to learn how to channel it. So it 100% has come full circle.
So how did you learn how to channel it, and how can you help other women who are like you now?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is that I really, really believe everybody has it in them. Like, I'm just a guide. I feel like I'm just, a guide here, like everybody else. So it's not that I have the magic potion. I know the method or the formula, and I'm willing to share it. But I feel like it's just, for me, it's about helping extract that everybody else's inner wisdom. It's already there. It's just sometimes, whether it can be through confidence or just a lack of knowledge or understanding or having some different exposure to get that out. And I think for me, I started way back in my late 20s by taking a mindfulness program, because I wasn't happy kind of surviving and coping and just, going hard, but really feeling after 5, like unsettled and, discontent almost. And I didn't know why. And so I always questioned that. And then I took that program and learned to meditate, and that carried me through. And then I as the years went on, I got deeper and deeper into it. And again, I want to make sure that I say this, because sometimes you say meditate and people are like, oh gosh. That's the formal end of it. And, people can get by on just 5, 10, 15 minutes a day and do really well. Even every other day, if you want to be, skimpy, or even 5 minutes. But it sets the foundation for the informal mindfulness that you need to infuse through the day. In order to live that life and to live a fulfilled life where you're actually thriving.
I was recently stuck in an airport line for just over an hour, and had those beautiful conversation with a young high school girl. And she saw my backpack and she started asking me a bunch of questions. And at first she was kind of had this hood over her head, was kind of hiding. And she goes, is that all you're traveling with? I said, yeah. Who are you? Like, why are you able to travel right now? And so I shared a bit about who I was, and I said, who are you? I'm a high school student. Okay. But my parents want me to pick what I want to do with my life, and I have no idea. And how am I supposed to know? And how am I supposed to? And her parents, you can see them, they're eavesdropping, listening on our conversation, being like, uh-oh, like what kind of guidance is this person going to give my child? And I don't know if they appreciated it or not. But what I said was, you are way too young to be stressing over how the rest of your life goes. Like, I don't know how many times I've changed directions or roads, or one thing led to another thing. And I said, just pick the thing you're enjoying and give it your all. Like, don't be lazy at it. Give it your all. And then that might shift into a different thing you enjoy doing. And don't be afraid to jump on that thing. And so it's
so true. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So we've talked about your morning routine. You're now a morning person. What else do you do with your day? What moves the needle forward for you, or what are you working on next?
Oh, wow. I guess, a lot of things. So, I have like kind of little side, what they say passive income. We know that's a lie, right? So little side gigs, whether it's a rental property or things like that.
Side investments and side recurring revenue.
Yeah, and they take a little bit of time up, right? And obviously time with family and that sort of thing. But I think from a business perspective, I really block it into two businesses right now. So it's kind of the life cycle of the businesses are in different places, which I think is great, because I think that's the only way you can, for me, that's the only way I could manage more than one company at a time, is if they're in different stages of the life cycle. And for the recreational sports, we've got that kind of down pat. We're always in a growth phase. It's just the nature of how we operate. And I think our branding, but we are working from, looking at selling it in a few years. So we're kind of fine tuning things, social media, or making sure our SOPs are clear. And I'm kind of investigating and building relationships with potential external buyers and people that we can collaborate in the meantime. And so we're doing some of those things, collaborating with a Toronto adult rec league as well. And, so that stuff's great. And I think for my mindfulness, or my modern day mindfulness program, this is what's exciting about this, is because it's brand new for me. It's an online marketing. So I haven't delved into that before. There's a huge learning curve, but I'm just going with it. Like every day, I'm just putting it into small, manageable chunks. What are my goals for that day? Like today, since I filmed everything yesterday, my goal today was just to get the where I wanted the inserts in the video to kind of highlight my points, get that in, set up my audio taping that I need to do, my PDFs, and on to the next. But now that I have the day cut up into these chunks, and I'm not answering the phone, not looking at email, anything else, I can just sit and focus and get that done. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is really taking a look at what the life cycle is and moving from that point.
I think, Janelle, you've done a really great job of setting up one business to be successful, where you don't have to be so much hands-on. And for that, maybe the revenue from that and your other existing investments, maybe to feed and pour into your new business venture. But I see so many women who try and do all of the business ventures all at the same time before they hit kind of a good recurring revenue in their first one. Do you have any guidance for those women who are like distracted by all the things, broken focus, and want to attack all these different revenue streams before they've actually nailed the first one?
Yeah, that's actually a sickness I have too. I call it like the shiny thing sickness illness. Because I think when you're entrepreneurial and you're driven, you see the world out of different glasses. And I see shiny, dangly things everywhere. And I'm constantly saying, oh my gosh, I should start a business doing blah, 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 blah. And I love, like, especially in this collective, in this WOW collective, because that's how we talk, right? So I can say that to somebody and they go, oh yeah, and this and that. And I'm like, oh, that would be such a great idea. And we go down that train. And I have been derailed. I have been slightly where I kind of, I just get off the highway and I'm going down a country road and I'm like, oh, wait a second, this road isn't paved. I need to turn around. And I think that's what's happened for me is I've turned around a couple times just in the nick of time. And that's what it is. It's what it comes to is it's that mindfulness integrated into your day. So I kind of pause and I'm like, wait, okay. Well, why do you want this? What's your motive? And a big one for me now is it has to be aligned with my purpose and my core values and beliefs. So right off the bat, if it's not aligned with that and it's just about making money, I know it'll be dead in the water for me very fast because I know I can make money anywhere, but I need to make money with a purpose now.
Mm-hmm.
So and that may not be the motive for everybody. And it doesn't mean that making money is not important. I love money. Money's freedom. But for me,
you can make money doing anything. So you choose what you want to make.
Right. I would still be working in pharmaceuticals with a company car and an expense account. I mean, I handed the keys back and I was like, I need to go make my own money. People are like, you're crazy. I'm like, that's okay. So
I was reflecting recently on that question too, of like, how do you stay focused? And I think when you've built something big the first time, first you get excited and then you get exhausted before you even start. Because you're like, I know how much energy and capacity that's going to require. Do I have that much energy and capacity to see that all the way through for how many years?
Yes. It's kind of like, I got a puppy, about 5 years ago. And, I had a 6-year-old at the time and really busy things happening. And people were like, you got a dog? And I was like, yeah, like, I just know. I kind of resigned myself to the fact. I was like, what does this mean? And I had an honest conversation with myself because, you have to have those. And I was like, okay, I'm basically going to have a baby for 6 months here. So, and I was just really honest and I resigned myself to the fact that that's what it's going to be. And then it wasn't as bad. It's kind of like label it and be aware of it and then move with it. And, that was it. And I think it's the same thing when you're launching a business. What does this mean? What do I need to do? Really important though is how can I make the best of the most out of my time? Because when I look back now, especially in the beginning with the sports business, lots of places I could have better time managed. So, or things like now my big thing is this a need to do or a want to do? That's just that has to be my first question. And I'm like, because I always want to do the want to do's because they're fun. Let's daydream, let's plan, let's look at these numbers and do this. But really what I need to do is, everything else. So
some of the boring stuff.
Absolutely.
I love the analogy about the puppy. I think you're completely accurate in that. I'm just thinking, is there any guidance that you have received that you appreciated or any guidance you received that you did not appreciate?
Ooh. I could actually, I did just recently talk about this in my program. And I guess one that I appreciated and didn't at both at the same time was I had this really difficult manager, this director I reported into, and we had very different visions. And when you have come from a nursing background and you're working with a lot of PhDs who have spent their time in the lab essentially, it's a different mindset. So there's often kind of like a snickering, like, oh, take the nurse's cap off. You're thinking too much. You're thinking too human, right? Whereas let's think in vitro. Let's think this way. Anyway, I actually attribute that to a lot of my success in pharma, but this specific director did not like that about me. And he would constantly almost berate me in meetings and ask me, why am I always the salmon swimming against the current? Why do I need to be that? And it would fluster him. I would frustrate him beyond belief, because I'm like, I'm not changing my mind on this. Like, you've put me in charge of this. This is what I'm saying. We're still going to get to the same end point, but we have to go around it differently. And I used to take a lot of offense in the beginning that I was this salmon. It made me feel isolated and that I was different. And then I was like, wait a second here. Like, who says? Like, who says? And actually, maybe my way doesn't mean my way is always the right way, but let's look at the different ways. And so that really made me, it kind of dismantled a little bit my ego, in that when I work with others, I really make myself consciously step back, because it's very easy when you're a driver to be like, that's not a good idea, let's go on. No, I already know what the good idea is. And I'm prone to that. And so now I step back and I'm like, there's like my mother would say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I know that's not a nice analogy, but there's always more than one way. And there could be several great ways. So really listening to others to empower them and be able to collaborate, to be able to build on their ideas. And it really got me out of the mindset too, that, you can't do anything alone. You just can't.
Yeah. And then it forces you down the path to understand where they're coming from. Like, there's so many maybe different biases or upbringing, or like so many different perspectives. It was like, how did you actually come up with that perspective? Like, what happened in your life to make you say that?
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Like, there's just so much to be learned from one another. So yeah, needless to say that it turned into so much, because there's certain things people say and you kind of can't shake it. So now I'm like, okay, I can't shake it because it'll come. There's more to learn from that. It'll come. The joy was when I did leave pharma, I got to quit on him, which was a little bit of, I'm like, this salmon is out of here. I'm going to lay my eggs somewhere else. But so yeah, I had a little bit of revenge fantasy in my head there. But yeah, I'm really grateful now. I'm grateful for all of it.
So we always say there's the things you're learning, and you need to learn, but there's also, you don't know what you don't know. So what do you wish you knew about business before you started?
Oh, these are good questions. Geez. I mean, I guess I wish that I had have prepared differently in terms of skill set, but at the same time, that is, that's a moving target, so whether it's tech or social media, so you can't really be prepared. I mean, I guess what I wish I knew was that it really comes down to the belief in yourself. I waited for longer than I should have. And I do believe everything happens for a reason. So that's why. But had I believed the things my mother said, that you look back now, you're like, oh, my mom was right. Like, you really can do anything you put your mind to. And again, it sounds cliche, but spending time really working on that and that belief, and finding out, where my niche is, and having the courage, having the confidence to go for it. I think I would have spent more time working on that instead of waiting so long, because it at the end of the day, and mixing the purpose in with it. So that's what I learned after, was if you can align your purpose with your drive, it's not going to feel like work. This is the first time in my life I'm doing something that it's the want to do every time. It's not a need to do. Even doing those recordings yesterday, I'm like, okay, this is scary, but it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that I'm going to put myself out there on video. But these are, it's now all the want to do. It's like, this is amazing. And that's a big difference, instead of just like trying to go for the shiny thing or go for the money or that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that would be it for me.
You triggered an interesting thought for me too. Is like, it's almost like when you're in business, you get so used to doing a lot of the things you don't like to do as well, that you almost feel guilty when you get to the point of, this is why I got into business to begin with.
Yes.
Like taking the time for yourself and having self-care, and you feel guilty about it. Meanwhile, that was the whole reason why you started.
So true. So true. Because you think you're going to work less when you're in charge, but you're not, or you're working in a different way where you're, like for me with the sports business, we run every night of certain overlap times a year. It's every night of the week and during the day. So I get a call at 10:30, on a Friday night or on a Wednesday night at 11. And I'm thinking, what? Well, there's still people playing, and there's an issue or somebody has a question, like, one of my staff. And I didn't, for whatever reason, that didn't occur to me, like, I'm like, okay, good. It's all done and it's tied up with a bow, and I've got staff there and staff here, and everybody's been paid and everything's done and we're good. Now I can, go to sleep, or I can, and you can, and I always have backups, and I'm starting to build more of that, now we've got a number 3. So we're slowly, transitioning somebody into an operations manager. But that comes. I mean, we've been 8 years now in the business I've been doing. So that takes time. But you're right. So it's about grabbing that time. And I think the big thing, and I know you talk a lot about this, and it does help, is like you said, you have to set up those boundaries with everybody. So I made the mistake early on. I answer, I text back. It could be midnight. It could be 8. Now that I'm waking up so early and shifting my day, I'm waking up with a ton of texts and emails, and I'm like, how come everybody's reaching out? Oh, they did, because I used to respond. Right. And they're good people, but so that's important, those boundaries. But yeah, taking that time, you really have to plan it out now and not feel guilty about it. That's the big thing. You're right. But I do that. It's like, okay, I need a spa day. It ends up moving, but I really try to and book those things, like getting your hair done, or that's just personal care. Like I used to put that in a bucket, like it was me time. Like that's not true. That's part of your image. That's your brand. That's your whatever. That's not going to the hair salon or, getting a pedicure for that matter, as far as I'm concerned. It's actually the really good stuff, going to the spa for the day, or taking a trip with your kids or your family or your friends or whatever it may be. That's the stuff we have to carve out and not feel guilty about.
You're making me think of the first time I ever got interviewed on TV, and I hadn't made the time for updating my manicure, and had business owner friends message me afterwards when it came out. I didn't know it was out. And all they said to me was, I said, what's your feedback? They said, you didn't have your nails done. I was like, did you hear a word I said? And they're like, no, we were too distracted by the fact that your nails were not done. So I will, since that day, make sure that they're always done. But
yeah,
something that's small, because you never know when you're going to make those appearances. And apparently people are too distracted by the way you appear to actually hear what you're saying. So you want them to not be distracted by your appearance or lack of appearance, so they actually hear your words.
Yes, that's a good
point. You want
point.
to transition into like an unselfish way.
Right? Yes, absolutely. That's a good way to put it. And if it makes you feel more confident or it makes you feel good, that's the thing. Like,
yeah. Did you have any, I know we talked about your mom a little bit. Did you have any other people influence your life in entrepreneurship? Maybe as a younger age, or when you're making the jump, or maybe there's certain books or podcasts or people that you haven't met, but you admire?
Jeez. Well, you know what, this is 100%. And I don't want to get emotional, but
you're allowed.
So my grandpa, who like my mom's dad, he just passed away in December at 93. But it's obviously where my mom got that cheerleader that thing from, right? So he just actually his motto was how did he say it? IDGAF. So his motto, he would say, you know me, IDGAF, which is I don't give a fuck. And he at 93, we literally, when he was 88, we book clubbed together The Secret, that book,
yeah.
He was just, I mean, he was on Facebook till 2 days before he passed away, gambling at the casino, doing whatever. He always, he was just another one, just super positive. He'd say, we need to have more talks like this. And he would just boost me up. We would talk about business. We would talk about self-improvement. We would talk about just how to cope in life and get by. And he had a really successful life, a really interesting life. He wore many hats. So he was pivotal for me, just huge. I don't even know what else to say. So he was big. And I feel like a lot of this I'm doing for him now, living my purpose and doing this. And he would say to me, don't be afraid, get out there. He'd say, I can see you doing like a TED Talk one day. I can see you're going to be interviewed by the CBC. And I was interviewed by Barry today. We were interviewed one time and he was like, see, you're getting, like, it's just, you just go for it. You got to do it. Like, it doesn't matter. And people around you, like, just, so he was really, really influential, and he remains to be. And which led me to what I was thinking first was Dale Carnegie book, and my grandpa told me from a very young age that the only thing he, used and believed in was the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so I think I was 18 when he gave me that book. And that was a game changer. I was like,
that explains a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why you get along with so many people and you're so driven and like ask so many great questions. I think so many people get into a conversation and they get nervous about what to say because they're so busy thinking about themselves instead of thinking about the other person and making that connection and asking the right questions.
Absolutely.
Like, you always show up inquisitive and curious and tell me more and hungry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I am. And I've read so many self-help books and there's great ones out there, but that always stands out. I went on to read what was his other one? How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And there was other ones like that. But yeah, my grandpa swore by that. And my grandpa started out in the coal mines in Newfoundland. So, he was reading that book on his lunch break and he did not spend very much time in those coal mines, and he ended up going into sales and everything else. So, I think those are big ones. And there's been a lot of great colleagues and managers along the way. And, I think I've said this before, but it doesn't matter if it's a child, your own child, a 3-year-old or a 18-year-old or an 83-year-old. I think that everybody knows something you don't, and you can learn from them. So there's been numerous people like that along the way for me as well.
I think you talk about your one business that you have, the new business you're starting out, investments on the side. You're probably where you dreamt you would be at some point. Except we believe we'd never truly arrive, which is why we believe so much in the journey, right? Like, we're never there. There is like this solution that doesn't exist because you're so busy working on the next thing, the next dream, the next goal. By the time you get to your first there, but you're kind of living the dream life that some women are dreaming of today. Wow. So what would be some guidance you would give to someone where the life you're living, this is their dream life?
Yeah. It's funny because I just said this the other day. I said, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Because And I used to think like, oh, I'm going to retire by the time I'm 45, or had these kind of notions. And I'm like,
What is
retire?
retirement?
Yeah, that sucks. I'm never retiring. Are you kidding? No way. Like, no, as long as I have time for yoga in the gym in the morning, like I'm going to be, doing whatever. So, but I think you're right. I've started to become a lot more grateful in the last year, because it's been about 2.5 years that I've left corporate. I've started to really hone in on my gratitude around my days. The fact that I get to schedule my own day. That alone, I forget her name now, who said it, but she talks about, writing your perfect day. Like, write that down. What does your perfect day look like? And I remember writing that out a few years back. And I was surprised when I really sat down, I kind of honed in, I got quiet, and I was like, what is my perfect day? And my perfect day ended up being pretty simple. It pretty much ended up what I'm doing, except I'd like to be
probably living your perfect day and didn't even realize it.
Yeah. And aside from like maybe it being like, in Hawaii or in Portugal or somewhere like that, which, which is the nature of where you live and how things are. But the day, the day is what it is. So I think two things is you have to lay out what is your perfect day, because maybe somebody else's isn't the same as mine. It's not going to be. And that's important to establish, because once you write it down, it will happen. It will happen eventually. So that's the big thing. And then be in the now and be grateful for what is happening now, because that's the step to get you there anyways. And you can't have then without now.
Yeah.
And it also builds that, it also builds that self-trust and that self-discipline and everything else, that self-worth and self-love that goes along with pouring into that. So you can't ever be in a state where you're in dislike or you hate where you're at or you don't like, because that's just bringing all the negative vibes to it, right? So yeah, and it's such a simple day, but you're right, I love it.
And how you said how you spend it could be different from how somebody else spends it, but I think the shared part might be how you feel.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I've had days where people could be envious of that day that I just had, and I was completely empty inside.
Absolutely.
Right?
So well put. Yes.
And then on the flip side, I've unfortunately experienced several times where you see entrepreneurs scaling on the road to success, and they hit that point where they get to decide to be arrogant or grateful for it. And it's this teeter that happens for a second, and you pray that they go on the side of gratitude, and you have always shown up with gratitude, and not just preaching about it, not just talking about it, like living it, experience. Like, you don't just say you should be grateful, you actually thank most people that you come into contact with, if not all of them.
Yeah.
So do you have any guidance for those women who are scaling? They may have hit their goal, which looks like success to them. Meanwhile, maybe you're still way further ahead in terms of the success that they want to experience. I know we agree that success looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
But my heart breaks when I see people hit the arrogant side, because they're no longer coachable. Ego gets in the way. They make really bad decisions, and then it's a really quick dive to rock bottom. And then when they have hit rock bottom, they can choose from there if they're going to climb again with gratitude, or kind of give up there and go back to their job or whatever, like something different, and live its life. So
true.
Comments or guidance around that teeter between arrogance and gratitude? Oh
yeah, no, it's so true. And I always think that I have this and it's probably been the getting the training in MBSR, like the formalized training in mindfulness, but anger is always sad's bodyguard, and those are very aggressive emotions, right? Like being arrogant and being flippant or being a know-it-all. They're very aggressive attributes that are really just just sheltering something else, like fear of failure, fear of success. We have to remember that people are just as afraid of the bad things as they are the good things, and we don't want to admit that. And vulnerability, because especially I find, especially with women, because of just our culture, we're like, oh, I can do it too. Like we've been brought up with that kind of like, anything you can do, I can do better. And we tried to like keep up with the boys, or the boys club, so to speak. And we don't need to. We're right alongside. And I think most men, a lot of men, I feel that I come into contact with, they are pretty respectful now of women in business and that sort of thing. So
they didn't know they were in competition with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Something.
Surprise! Here's the dark horse coming out. They're like, you? Yeah. I love that stuff. It's so true. It's so true. But yeah, I think that women get scared. I think they get to a point, and I know it's not all women, so I don't want to say it, but I think people, even in general, they get to a point where they get successful, and then they think like, okay, I got this, I'm good. But what's the underlying fear there? And I think they're afraid, or they don't think they're worthy. They don't believe that can be them. I've had friends, I remember years back when my ex-husband at the time, my ex-husband and I were buying racehorses, and a friend of mine was like, wait, you own racehorses? Like, you're not a farmer, you don't have a farm. I'm like, no, but you pay somebody and this is how it works. And they were like, and I was pretty young, and they were like, that's crazy. Like, who does that? And I'm like, I don't know, like lots of people. And I do, I'm going to give it a shot. So that mindset of like, that could not be me, or how could that life be me? Or, I spend time thinking, and I'll admit it, I would love to have a private chef one day, maybe I will. So I daydream about that. Oh, what would I do? I'd have them prep, 3 days. I'd have like, keep going with that belief that, because I would think, who am I to have a private chef? Like, that's just like for, actually, if I want one, and if I work towards that, that's what I can have. So again, really dismantling that. I think women are really guilty of that low self-worth, and sometimes it's subconscious, or the mindset, right? Money doesn't grow on trees, and and all these things that we've been told. Like, you got to plow through that and figure out why those aggressive behaviors are coming up. So it's a really good point.
I've always admired you, and I think I admire you even a little bit more. When
Aww.
all these people were, telling you that's crazy, who does that? And you had the perfect answer for it. And I put that on my checkbox of like, if someone tells me, if a bunch of people tell me I'm crazy, then I know I'm on the right path.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
If not enough people tell me I'm crazy and doing the wrong thing, then I start to question, okay, no one's told me I'm crazy yet. Is this actually the right move?
Yeah. And deep down, I need that excitement anyways. I love that rush.
Right?
Okay, I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to take a risk. Maybe I'll lose all my money here. Oh, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I always say, worst case scenario, go sell chocolate bars for Nestle or something. I'm like, there's always a backup plan, and I will never need to do that. So
who doesn't want help with sales?
Exactly.
And your comment about the private chef, I was going to say, go move to Guatemala, because the more like the personal housekeeping things you get off your plate, like, it actually frees up so much time, because you have to rethink, like, okay, what do I actually do with my day? In Guatemala, it was actually cheaper to have a private chef cook for me every day than for me to even just make my own meals. And so it didn't make sense to cook. And then I had laundry day mapped out. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do my laundry. And I went to go do it, and they wouldn't let me do that either. So I was like, okay, well, that was my plan for today. Now what am I going to do? Be more productive? I don't know.
It's so true. And you know what? That's a really good point you bring up, because I did one of those, like, I think it was a DeMartini quiz or whatever. And you start to actually look at every minute of your day, and we underestimate how much we're doing, even if it's tidying up or getting the mail, or like, you start to count these things, let alone making the beds and cooking and food prep and meal prep. And I'm a big believer. We don't eat out, and I like to make everything from scratch. And, so it's like, okay, I shifted into, I've got to prep this on Sunday. I'm going to freeze that. My freezers are full because I cannot eat the way I want my kids to eat and myself without having jars of chili, etc., lentil stew in the freezer. It just can't be. So it's a good point, but yeah.
I think you've shared a lot of great insights, Janelle. In wrap up, is there any final thoughts that you have for guidance or like for women who are currently growing their business to their first 6 figures? And also, where can we find more information about you if there's a high performing woman who is needing some help, maybe with anxiety, or maybe you could explain that a little bit more, where they could look for guidance from you?
Oh, absolutely. So I think one of the big things that has really shifted for me and my confidence and my just vibrating at a higher level is becoming part of this community. And I think that for women or men, they need to be part of a business coaching community like this. I'm super excited to take the Growth Camp 2.0 boot camp, and but yeah, that's been a game changer too. So I might have had the ideas and the momentum, but kind of like you said, I had those days feeling maybe empty or isolated, or am I doing the right thing? When now I'm sitting down to have lunch. I'm like, oh, there's a mastermind on. Good, I have time. I know I'm going to pick up a gem. Or I know maybe I'm not feeling that I'm at my ultimate, and I just need that energy, like to say, this is my low this week, this is my high. There's just so much to be had out of being with like-minded people. Just even on a subconscious level. Like consciously, we know what it does, but on a subconscious level, I think what it does for you is next level. And I'm really grateful. I think how I met you, and by fluke and through a net, and all things happen for a reason. And so I'm so grateful that I'm part of this community and that I met you. And so thank you very much for that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And I forget your other question. What was the other thing?
What do you do? How can you help women? Where can they find you?
So I'm just launching. So it's going to be about another month. In the meantime, so my website will be up and running very, very soon. In a couple of weeks, it'll be m-e.ca. I can be reached at, and anywhere through the community. I'm in here as well. Anybody within the community can find me here, through you name it.
Okay, perfect. Do you have a LinkedIn profile or anything? Like, do people
Yes, I do.
On there?
Yep, Janelle Bernier. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So anywhere, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
And the women who should be reaching out to you, what are their pain points? What are they experiencing that they're like, you know what? I got to reach out to Janelle. I need Janelle in my life.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's very specific, but very widespread for women like me. And I say that I am my former, not anymore, because I practice this. Not that it's not anymore. You're always still. Everything's a practice, right? We are who we are. But my program is specifically for women or men with high functioning anxiety. So these are high achievers, high performers who on the outside look like they have it all together. I mean, they're successful, they're driven, they get things done. They even look calm and cool and collected, but inside, they're struggling. It's incessant taking on more work. It's looking for your self-worth externally rather than internally. Seeking validation not from within or not from living with your purpose. And it's like a relentless turmoil. It's just an inner lack of peace and emotional regulation. It's nervous system dysregulation. So they know, because they are often the women and men who, they need to numb out after 5 or 6. They're having their scotch or their wine or their online shopping or There's, behaviors like that. And they're short-tempered with their kids often, or, things like that can come up. And so I really help high performers like that kind of take that step back. And it doesn't matter what role you're in. You can always be happy. You can always find peace. Not every day. We're not meant to be happy all day. That would be insane. It would be so boring and everybody would be crazy in this world. That's what we don't get. But it's just about managing and choosing your reactions and how you're going to move through this. And, you can't go into a cave like a monk for 2 days and get grounded and get peace. But there are ways to do it through your everyday that are really not difficult. And I said to you before, my biggest thing is taking that high intensity relationship with anxious feelings and drive and, that thing we have in us, and directing it the right way so that it is your superpower. Like, you don't need to run from it. You just need to hold it gently and move it over this way. And then you go with it. So
I like the way you describe that as like your constant inner turmoil. So now you take that and use it as your fuel instead of your maybe slowing you down.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Janelle, thank you so much for joining us today on the Wow Effect podcast. It was super enjoyable and the time flew by.
It did. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to follow the show so you don't miss an episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you're going to love what we have coming up. If you found value in what you heard, share it with a friend who might need it too. Until next time, keep building your dream life and your dream business.